Now it's time for Inspirational Women, and my guest, Maureen Johnson, a #1 New York Times and USA Today best-selling author of many YA novels, including a collaboration for Let It Snow, which is now a Netflix movie. Today, Maureen joins us to give some insights into Hello, Cruel Heart. Maureen takes us on a fantastic journey to London in the summer of 1967. For anyone living at that time, what a great trip down a memory lane. For those who weren't, what an adventure and experience. So let's meet Maureen to learn from her about her work on Hello, Cruel Heart and her work in general. Maureen Johnson, good morning. Thank you so greatly for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, it's very exciting. Today happens to be the launch of a brand new book, Hello, Cruel Heart. How exciting is to have another great book coming out?
Oh, it's great, and it's springtime, and I can go outside a little bit, so it's very exciting. It feels fresh and new and spring-like, so feels good.
And perhaps right in the midst, or well, hopefully not the midst, hopefully toward the end of a pandemic, it feels like a great gift and really great hope.
Yes, and much of the book was written during a pandemic, so it does feel like, for me, it's a little bit of a punctuation mark. So hopefully for all of us.
Yes,
punctuation mark.
Exactly. So that is interesting. Writing during the pandemic, do you think that had any kind of impact or influence on the book at all?
I think it had a lot of influence on it. I wrote it early on, so it was really written when New York, because I live in New York City, and when we were sort of in the middle of that worst part of the pandemic. When everything here was very bad. And even going into, because I live in a building with elevators, and I live in a tall New York City building. So even going into the hallway was risky. So everything felt, you had to be careful about everything. So I was just inside. I was largely kind of confined to this one chair because my husband also had to set up his work, and our dog was in there. So we were all kind of smushed into a room together. And I was like, well, I guess I'll go on a mental vacation to London in 1967. And I think I got very immersed in because there was no outside world really to distract. I was there.
So there's pros and cons to that, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, certainly there was nowhere else to be. Mm-hmm. So, and you could really, indulge. You're like, well, if I really want to indulge in re-listening to all this music, because I wrote so much of it really based in the music and the feel of that time. I was like, I will watch all these shows, these movies, re-listen to every one of these albums because I can. Because also because something has to fill the day and something has to distract from just being inside.
Right. So, again, I guess parallel to wanting to get into more of the nuts and bolts of the book of Hello, Cruel Heart, but the fact that then you were immersing yourself, maybe it was a sense of getting more in depth with it than you might have otherwise, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think I would have gotten in depth. Certainly I would have gotten in depth with it otherwise, but it had certainly the time had a very peculiar feel. And to what extent that really comes through, it's always going to be unclear, but I definitely have a very vivid sense of sitting in this one chair and just really drilling down and being able to kind of go there and stay there in a way that wasn't ever really interrupted by going to the store, going to have to travel and do other things or see people. You got to sort of stay on the one note.
And maybe get that stronger relationship in a way with your characters.
Yeah, I think so. I think that we were all looking for, I ended up writing 3 books last year. So, I mean, I really was just like, it's being housebound for writers can be an advantage. Yeah, I think we were all obviously we were all in a very strange headspace, and we all went through various things into various mental places. And I think certainly a lot of people really got into books and reading and puzzles. Like everybody, we were all looking for things to safely do inside.
Right. And yes, reading was definitely huge, I think, across not just the country, but probably around the world. But we're so lucky with our libraries. And this, of course, Hello, Crow Heart will be right in there right now, probably as an audiobook. But soon we hope that the hard copies will be there as well, and we can get back into paper as well. So the timing of this, too, part of it is that we know Cruella de Vil. We are aware of Disney in the past. The new movie is coming out, and this was your opportunity to delve deeper. But how is it that you chose to write this book about Cruella?
Well, Disney was making a movie about Cruella's origin story, and I was approached about this, and when I saw what period would be the build up to the movie, so the movie takes place in the 70s, and when I timed it back and realized where and when Cruella, or Estella as she's called, would be living in London in 1967, I jumped on it very quickly because for two reasons. One is that I love Dodie Smith, and who wrote 101 Dalmatians, but she also wrote a book called I Capture the Castle, which is it's so good. If you've never read it, it is just this amazing, it's early YA, but it's incredible, and I love it so much. And B, because I've always been obsessed, like truly since I was a teenager, deep down, hardcore obsessed with that time period, specifically in London, and all of the things that were coming out of it, the music, the art, just all the social changes. I really had a standing granular knowledge of that I've carried for years. And I was so excited to be able to use it. And I just started talking nonstop to the editor about, and she could go to Granny's Take a Trip, and then she could go here, and then they would go here, and then here's all the things I could use, and then there would be this going on. And she was like, oh gosh, what did we sign up for?
So this was just almost a perfect gift for you because your passion was already living there. Yes,
absolutely. I mean, truly a granular knowledge that is useful. Never has this been useful to me. And I just want to talk about it all the time. And there's never been any, there's only two people that are like, Maureen, tell me all the thoughts in your head right now about this. I was like, finally, a book I can tell people why this period was so exciting and what some of the great stuff that was going on, good and bad.
Well, a couple of things come to mind. One is this is very exciting for all of us who get to read the book because then we can immerse ourselves and either learn or relive some of that excitement and all that went on in the era. But the other part of it is that what's exciting is it's like for anyone who has these ideas roaming around in their head, in their bodies, it's don't give up hope because there may come a time that it's just the right time for all of it to come pouring out, and who knows what the result will be.
Also, you make your own time. In this case, it was a connection with something like, Cruella is coming out, and there's this movie that's going to be also this. My obsession extends from the sort of late 60s through the 70s. So I was like, you are in my wheelhouse. Get on my boat. But if that's if you have any area of interest, you make your own time, and don't shy away from your area, that thing that you love. In general, for most books, you make your own time. you don't have to. This was just in this particular case. It was a thing coming together.
Right. And all of that is beautiful, heartening for us if we're thinking about being writers, already a writer, and thinking forward, or whatever the career may be. I love your passion and your encouragement along this line, Maureen. That's great.
Well, I think you have to. You're a writer if you write, and good, bad, whatever you think, as long as you do it, you're writing and you're a writer. And I think that there should be more important, it's so important, I think, the time you spend, say, as a kid or as a teenager, all of those things you really thought about and got into, and the music that you listened to, and that time you had to kind of think and play and ruminate on things, and it's good or bad sometimes, can be very fruitful. That time you need to spend just getting into something, I think is really important, and it can stay with you in a lot of really good ways.
So this has been a passion for so much of your life. Were there any surprises as you continued into developing the story and putting it all together?
Surprise. I think that, I'm not sure if surprises were the word. I had to shape the material. I wanted to really shape it along the lines of a big classic story, to fit in with the arching story of someone like Cruella, and also just to lead it into the next story that's coming. The film story is, it arches into that. It doesn't connect to it directly because there's a gap of several years. But I so enjoyed, I got to read the script and see all the set walkthroughs and everything, and I was genuinely so enamored of it that I was, in this particular case, reaching towards that to try to say, here's how this person can get to about where you're going to see them next. So in many ways, it can be very helpful sometimes when you write to have a thing that you're reaching towards, to see let's see how we can get this character from here to here.
And in the case of Cruella, or Estella in the book,
yeah,
why was she such a good character to delve into more deeply?
Well, everyone loves a villain. And people, there's a question, are people born bad? Are people end up bad by circumstance? Is it a little bit of column A? Is it a little bit of column B? What personality traits can be exacerbated? So how does a positive personality trait flip? Is ambition positive? She's very ambitious. She wants to be a fashion designer. And ambition is one of those personality traits that really is a hair trigger. It can propel you in all the right ways. And then it can flip and it can pass that middle point into something darker. And because she is so driven by ambition, I feel like gauging that needle and how that needle is wiggling was very interesting. And that's the balance you had to really strike with her. Like, where does she flip? And that's explored more in the movie, but the flip begins in this story as well. The hurt, the wants, she wants to be a designer. She wants to get into the world that she sees around her that's so close. She's living in London. She's seeing all of these amazing things happening, but she lives in a bombed out building with Jasper and Horace, and they have to survive by stealing. And she wants what's so close to her, but it seems unreachable. And she has enough internal strength to reach and get it, but when does that internal strength kind of flip over into something nastier?
Right. So did you find that she would talk to you? Was that part of the story moving forward?
No, my characters generally do not talk to me. That you can certainly hear them. you can hear their voices quite clearly.
Mm-hmm.
When it's working, you know exactly what they sound like. But if they actually start talking to you, call for help. I think because while you should hear them really clearly, I think that it is always important that you are the one in charge.
Right. And you have the story elements or kind of the framework of where you're going, so it's evolving that way, right?
Yeah, I didn't really have a framework for this one. I just knew what was coming in the future, but there was no framework for this story. So I got to, drop her into London and really kind of, it was like being in The Amazing Race or something. Like you drop down, and I had to figure out without a map how to get her to where she was going. Parameters are great when you're writing. They can be, whether externally imposed or self-imposed. Giving yourself a starting point and a point that you're trying to get to can be is immensely helpful, because that a lot of times the most creativity comes out of just a couple parameters that you have to work within. There's a lot of arguments in art about, parameters, or, is it good to have limitations? Is it good to have things that you have, constraints that you have to work in? I've always found a couple self-imposed constraints. Any kind of a framework that you need to work within, you can, a canvas is only a square, but you can do a lot within the space of a canvas. So constraints are very helpful. Mm-hmm. For me.
Yes. So in terms of the London of the 60s and in your fascination with it,
yeah.
Of course, you weren't even born at that time, but
no.
Since then, have you had an opportunity to travel there and spend some time?
I spent a lot of time in England. I've lived there. My husband's English, so I've lived in London. And so I know it well, and I really, having an English husband and having lived there, it's very close to me. It's a city I know well, and I know it well geographically. I've written other books set there, so I know a lot about its history. And it got a little embarrassing at points because right down to some of the addresses that I put in this book, where she ends up living with the characters Magda and Richard on Cheyne Walk is it's historically significant. And some of the people I put on that street at the time with her really did live there, really were the neighbors. I love maps. I'm a heavily map-based writer, so I always map out where everybody lives and where all the locations are and how I love a map. I guess I really love some constraints more than I realize. But I'm very London centric. I've written, I guess, 5 other books that were set there.
So that just
yeah.
So that really lends the authenticity to it, that it's not just research, but that really walking those streets and seeing those particular buildings and being inside some of them.
Yeah, I think that, for example, I wrote a book called The Name of the Star, which has the premise is that somebody has started recreating the murders of Jack the Ripper. And when I started working on that, I forced myself to walk to all of the locations that were in the canonical Jack the Ripper killings. And then I made myself be able to walk them without a map. I'm very strongly connected to really knowing where you are in space. So I've walked, wasn't able to. I probably would have gone back over because we would have gone to see my husband's family. I would have gone back to London to really walk around some of those pathways, again, just to know exactly where I wanted Estella to be, but I wasn't able to. So it was a lot of recall, but I think I've been around those places enough that it's accurate. Yeah, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I would have gone. So I had to travel in my mind.
But having lived there just
Yeah.
does lend that different feel to it. That's just that much more real than having just the research of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it takes place over a summer, and there is a quality about an English summer. English summers are extraordinarily beautiful, and they're really soft, and the days are very, very long. The sun comes, at the height of summer, the sun kind of doesn't go down to almost 10 o'clock at night. And there's a gentleness to the English summer that has always it's a beautiful place to be. So I guess in my mind, I was like, I am transporting myself to an English summer, specifically an English summer where the most colorful, exciting, loud, explosive things were happening.
And wasn't that then probably just a great escape from what was happening around us, where we had to be shut in and not able to get out very much at all, so you could escape in your mind?
Oh, I was like, Stella, you're going out today. You're going to go shoplifting. You're going to go to a club. You're going to run off to Stonehenge. You're going to go from house to house. Yeah, it was great.
And what's great is this, while this is labeled a YA novel, all ages are going to love it. But it's really great that it is YA because until kind of more recent history, there was just such a dearth of literature available in this particular genre. So it's, you're doing such great work to provide such great material for being able to delve into characters and places. So, great work.
I started writing YA in 2004, and I've gotten to see how things have developed over the last, how many years now? Is that 17?
About yes.
Can I do math? Can I add? Yeah. Had to stop and think. And this has been the YA explosion. There's been ups and downs, but it's certainly exploded in popularity. And YA it's young adult literature, but that really just means that the characters, at least the main character, is of teenage, that they're a teenager. But the readership is anybody really. There's loads and loads of adults that read YA, and there's younger readers too. You definitely see you see kids with advanced reading skills who are 8 years old that are tearing through YA books. They come up with stacks of them, and they're like, I've read them all. And you say, you're 8. And they say, I know, but I like to read. So, and everybody's coming at it either, the younger ones are looking up, the teenagers are reflecting on the present, and older readers are not even looking back, but, we all kind of reflect on our own origin stories. So, everybody's coming at it from a different place, but YA really is for everybody. Truly. It's not that the writing is any lesser.
No.
Certainly, definitely not. So it's for everybody.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I love young adult literature, and this Hello, Cruel Heart is just right there in the top mix of wonderful material to read. And before we have to finish up, we should mention your website, because there we can get more information and insights about the other books that you've mentioned and that you've written, and just more about you.
I'm on Twitter at Maureen Johnson. I'm on Instagram at Maureen Johnson Books. And I've posted a bunch of stuff on Instagram recently that's like a little mini tour of 1967 London, because I wanted to. And my site is maureenjohnsonbooks.com.
And there at the website is where I noticed that it mentions book events. So, of course, right now it's still virtual, but that is a great way too. Instagram, having that tour sounds like a great opportunity. But through the virtual online opportunities, it's another way that people can see you, meet you, connect with you.
There's ups and downs to it. Obviously, being able to meet people in person is great. But the nice part about the virtual events is that there's no barrier to entry. A lot of people can't go to things because they're like, writers never come to my town. I don't have a car. I'm not able to get there. The fact that anybody can go, I think, is one of the benefits to all. It's one of the few benefits to, you get to see more things because they're virtual. So I have a virtual event. I think it may have passed by the time this airs. I'm doing one with Holly Black tomorrow. I'll be doing one next week with Dana Schwartz, who hosts the podcast Noble Blood. But yeah, anybody can come, and that I do like. I like things that are easier for people to be able to access.
Right. So that is a great opportunity. And hopefully going forward, just as any of us who have had the opportunity to work from home, will see a combination of this. Kids will be in classes, but there will also be the option perhaps of virtual classes. So the same here is having all these ways to connect with your audience, with your readers.
Yeah, I think the future is going to be a mix of in-person and virtual events. And that's great because that means more accessibility.
Exactly. Well, not that you haven't been quite busy enough. 3 books during this time of the epidemic, yes, the pandemic. Are you working on another or more?
I am.
Of course.
I am. I have, there's another book in the works. You basically, one gets done, dust off your hands, then you grab the notes from across the desk and go, and now you.
So no surprise, I guess, for a woman who as a child just dreamed that was going to be her work. She was going to be an author, and here you are.
Yeah, I have no other skills. This is what I do.
Well, with the skills that you have, the wonderful books that you produce, I guess, who needs to have another skill? You can just keep on replicating this, creating new fantasy, new visions, new stories for all of us to enjoy, right?
Well, that's the goal. I mean, they don't let people like me say work in help landing planes and things like that. It's best that I am where I am, at home, writing the books. Nothing, no dangerous tools involved.
Well, we're glad that your computer, if that's what you're using, or pen, is what your tools are, because this book that we've been talking about, Hello, Cruel Heart, is just wonderful. It's brand new. So our opportunity to delve into another great story. And Maureen Johnson, I'm so grateful that you're here to share some insights on it and about your life. So thank you so greatly.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
This is a Sunday morning shout out for WOW, Washington Outdoor Women, who has a mission. That is to teach traditional outdoor skills to women and girls, and by doing so, prepare and encourage them to become good stewards of our natural resources. This past year has put the brakes on these gatherings and experiences, so to fill a gap, WOW brings forward a new meaning to the acronym, Words of Wisdom. Words of Wisdom is a blog featuring WOW instructors and other women who will share their outdoor skills and nature-loving expertise. For example, a few of the first blogs are about raising chickens, keeping bees, and shellfish harvesting. Future blogs will be about nature writing, gardening for wildlife, hunting, foraging, and falconry. The blog will also include information to refresh outdoor skills as warm weather approaches. WOW's goal is to blend the theory in these blogs with the practice you may have begun at a WOW workshop or ventured out on your own to try. The hope is to help build up your base of knowledge for the days to come when we can all safely gather together again outdoors. New blogs will appear the first week of every month, so check the WOW website often. It's washingtonoutdoorwomen.org/blog. That brings us to the end of a very full hour of Inspirational Women with Maureen Johnson and Sunday Morning Magazine with Bonnie Marcus. I'm Kate Daniels, your host, and I greatly appreciate your sharing this hour with me and these special guests. For details you might have missed or information you'd like to know, please just send me an email, kated@warm1069.com, and I'll get right back to you. Also, if you'd like to listen again or share these important stories with your family and friends, find the podcast on our Warm 1069 webpage. Just click on the podcast tab, then either of the show names, and then look for the guest names. I now wish you and your family a day of reading great stories and creating your own great story. Have a week of the same, and then please plan to join me again next weekend for another hour of Sunday Morning Magazine and Inspirational Women on Warm 1069. Good morning.